Maternal, fetal, and neonatal outcomes associated with long-term use of corticosteroids during pregnancy. This is again 2019 Vogue article. First, we will discuss about a little bit about endogenous corticosteroids, which are produced already by the body.
Same
There is a
last
three.
slide.
Sorry,
Last
there is a
slide.
three. Last slide. It was only about topic name.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay. So there is a threefold increase in cortisol in pregnancy, highest during the third trimester, because cortisol help for the maturation, especially of the lungs. Cortisol decreases after delivery of the placenta and continues to decrease up to the normal value till 3 months. Fetus is protected by the placental enzyme 11-BHSD2. But if there is maternal anxiety, infection, and inflammation, then there will be a more high level of cortisol. So this placental enzyme cannot protect, and it will be provided to the baby. So now our focus on the exogenous corticosteroids. Okay, so basically dexamethasone, betamethasone, which we give for the lung maturation, these are the fluorinated steroids. They are highly potent, 20 to 30 fold potent than cortisol. It increases glucocorticoid activity and reduces mineralocorticoid activity. They are poor substrates for placental metabolism. It
Okay,
means it
kindly
passes
please
through the
show me the
fetus.
previous one slide because my connection was.
Okay.
Which topic is this? I don't know.
This is about corticosteroids. Effect of corticosteroids in pregnancy. This was the first slide. Endogenous corticosteroids. Okay, we are going to discuss the effect of corticosteroids in pregnancy. This is about endogenous corticosteroids, and now we are going to discuss the exogenous corticosteroids. Basically, the article is about exogenous corticosteroids. So, dexamethasone, betamethasone, we give for the lung maturity. These are very potent. 20 to 34 potent than cortisol. It increases glucocorticoid activity. They are poor substrates for placental metabolism. It means that it can be passed to the fetus for lung maturation. If due to any reason dexamethasone or betamethasone are not available or contraindicated, then the alternative option is hydrocortisone, but not so much effective as these fluorinated steroids. So we are going to discuss fetal exposure to steroids and the maternal exposure to steroids. Okay, so fetal exposure to steroid. Plasma half life of betamethasone is 6.5 to 9 hours. Please take a screenshot or write it down and remember the half lives. There is a plasma half life, there is a biological half life. We know plasma half life, how much time the substance take to reach its maximum in the plasma, and biological half life is the duration of influence in target tissue, for how long it is effective in the target tissues. Biological half life is always longer and more than the plasma half life. Plasma half-life for betamethasone 6.5 to 9 hours. For dexamethasone, it is 4 to 4.6 hours, and prednisolone 3 hours oral or IV. Biological half-life is beta and dexamethasone combined. Both of them have 36 to 50 hours, 54 hours. While prednisolone has a less half-life, 12 to 36 hours. But betamethasone has a short half-life in twins. I don't know about the reasons, but you should know betamethasone has a short half-life in twins. So please take a screenshot or remember the half-life as such. Sometimes the half-lives could come in exam. Okay, so now the steroids for fetal lung maturation. What does a steroid do? Basically, its purpose of lung maturation. Okay, but it and what does it do lung maturation? It improves the surfactant production, both tissue and alveolar surfactant production, increases lung compliance, and helps to clear fluid from the lungs. So because it helps to improve the lung function, so respiratory support is improved. It reduces neonatal death, intensive care admissions, and the two additional benefits, these are all were related to respiratory system. Two additional benefits are cerebroventricular hemorrhages. It prevents cerebroventricular hemorrhages, and it also prevents to necrotizing enterocolitis. So basically it has effect on three systems: the lungs, the gastrointestinal system, and the neurological system. United Nations identified steroids among top 13 life-saving drugs in mother and child health. You need to also to remember this, top 13 life-saving drugs. Okay, so who is going to tell me what are the purpose of steroids which we give for lung maturation in patients?
It increases surfactant production, decrease the
Yes.
alveoli fluid,
Hmm.
and decrease the risk of respiratory distress syndrome
Yes.
Increase the risk
and
of
necrotizing it also reduce intraventricular hemorrhage and necrotizing enterocolitis.
Okay, and so in lungs, what does it do? It increases the surfactant production, increases the lung compliance, and what was the third one?
Alveolar.
It reduces
You
it reduces the
Oh,
cerebroventricular
excellent!
hemorrhage.
It helps to clear fluid from the lung. Okay, excellent. Okay,
Hello,
so
ma.
what?
Hello.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, you talked about the biological half-life. You were saying that the time it takes for the drugs to stay in the tissue. Is that right?
yes,
The
yes,
target
yes.
tissues. So what is the plasma's half-life?
Plasma half-life, it reaches in maximum concentration in the plasma.
Okay.
Yes, Neelam, excellent. Clear fluid from the lungs. So please remember this the pathophysiology, how it prevents the respiratory problems. So what is the dosage? The recommendations are a single course of betamethasone should be given intramuscular in 2 12 milligram doses 24 hours apart, or dexamethasone 4 IM 4 doses should be given. 6 milligram, 6 milligram, 6 milligram, 6 milligram of every 12 hours for women at risk of delivery. These are the regimes recommended, but alternatively, they say you can use any dosage regime of betamethasone and dexamethasone as long as 24 milligram of each drug is given and within 24 to 48 hour period. So minimum period should be 24 hours, maximum should be 48 hours, and as long as 24 milligram of drug should be given, you can use. So this could be different hospital protocols. So even if you give that a little bit different dose, you have to calculate that total 24 milligram has been given in 24 to 48 hours, then the dose is correct. Because in UK there are some guidelines and there are some unit protocols. Uncertainty about repeat doses, there is always remain an uncertainty whether we should give repeat dose or not. They have discussed this for multiple time in guideline that we should give repeat dose or not. So now the recommendation is that no more than 2 courses are recommended. Sometimes we give the patient a single dose of a single course of steroids, corticosteroids, and she does not go into labor, and after 6 or 7 weeks we come to know that now again the patient is at the risk of the preterm labor, then we can again give a dose of steroid, but not more than 2 doses, because repeated doses sometimes can cause adrenal suppression and long-term neurological morbidity. There is not much evidence about it, but some studies suggest it, so better to avoid more than 2 doses. Okay, so now who is going to tell me the dose of betamethasone?
12 mg 24 hours
12
apart.
milligram.
12
12
hours
milligram
apart.
24 hours apart. 2 doses.
12
24 hours.
milligram 24 hour apart.
Yes, excellent. And what is the dose of dexamethasone?
For
6
6 milligrams.
milligram 4
dexamethasone, there are
doses
two
12
12
doses.
hours
4
hours
hours
apart.
apart.
apart. 4
Every 12
doses.
hours.
Yes, excellent.
24 milligram total.
And
24
yes,
milligram to 12
yes,
milligram.
24. And for how much time?
24
24
to
24
hours to
48
to
hours.
48
48
hours.
hours.
Yes, yes, excellent. Yes, excellent. Okay, so now tell me about repeat doses. Can we give repeat doses?
There we can
There are
give,
2
but
courses.
there are la- repeat doses not recommended.
Yes. Because why?
There is uncertainty about military dose.
Can cause fetal adrenal
Adrenal
suppression.
suppression and neurodevelopmental
Yes.
Yes.
abnormalities.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Yes, only two is there. So preferably one, but we have to give, but not more than two. So this was about the fetal exposure to steroids. Now we are going to discuss the maternal exposure to steroids. And fetal exposure, we have give steroids for the sake of the fetus. But if mother is chronically taking the steroid, maternal chronic steroid use, okay, what could it cause? It could increase facial clefts, though there is limited evidence, but still FGR may be associated. There is a 5 to 10 fold increased risk of GDM should be screened by OGTT. So remember, if the scenario says that women is taking steroids for any purpose, like for asthma or any other medical disease, in some connective tissue diseases, it is also given, like SLE. So then we need to screen her for, though in the guideline of GDM they have not given the screening, but still if the woman is taking steroids on chronic steroids, then you have to do the OGTT. For adrenocortical suppression, adrenocortical failure, the women who are in adrenocortical failure and are taking steroids, a stress dose should be given in labor. This is about labor. A stress dose should be given in labor to prevent vascular collapse. Okay? And about other diseases we need to assess, like in asthma, if patient is taking steroids, and a consultant will assess that whether she needs a stress dose at labor or not. But in adrenocortical failure, stress dose needs to be given.
Intravenous steroid.
Yes, in labor. Okay. For postpartum relapse of disease up to 3 months due to decrease in endogenous steroid. We have discussed now, postpartum endogenous steroid decreases up to 3 months. So there is a high risk of relapse in postpartum period. So we have to be careful about, and we may need to increase the dose of exogenous steroids to prevent the relapse. Do not withhold additional antenatal corticosteroids because of a mother's chronic use of corticosteroids. What does it mean? Additional antenatal corticosteroids.
The steroids which we give for fetal lung maturity, they should not be withheld.
Yes, the steroids which we give for lung maturity, even if a mother is taking steroid, then still we have to give the fluorinated steroids for the fetal lung maturity, because there could be a risk that the steroids mother is taking is not passing to the fetus because of the placental barrier. But betamethasone and dexamethasone passes to the fetus, so we have to give. And in most of the maternal conditions in which patient is taking steroids for her own health, there could be a risk of preterm labor. In all medical disorder, there is a risk of preterm labor. We should be very cautious about it, and we will give antenatal corticosteroids for lung maturity. So what about
Hello, ma'am.
breastfeeding? If a baby,
Hello,
yes,
ma'am.
yes,
The
please,
previous slide.
just a minute. This one,
No. Be-
this one,
Previous.
dosage.
Yeah. For adrenocortical failure. Nah. Next one.
This one,
Next, ma'am. You are going.
Chanda, this one.
No, after that. Not this one. After that.
This is the last slide. Yeah, breastfeeding. We are starting breastfeeding.
Oh. Now, there was one
Chanda,
sentence.
what confusion did you have? What do you want to ask? Tell me, then I will share that slide. What
The
was in that slide?
in adrenocortical failure, you have to give
Okay,
the test
this one.
dose.
This is the slide for
Yeah.
adrenocortical failure.
I can understand the sentence for adrenocortical failure. Stress dose should be given in
Yes,
labor.
your voice is broken. I think my internet connection is.
Ma'am, she is asking stress dose.
Stress dose.
About stress dose.
Yes, this
Yeah,
one.
about stress dose. Yes, she is asking about stress dose.
Stress dose, you are not going to decide the what will be the stress dose. This the dose will be decided by the chest physician. You only should know that if a woman who has adrenocortical failure, okay, adrenal crisis, and she is on long term corticosteroids, her adrenal gland is not working, and for that she is taking corticosteroids. When she goes in labor, you have to give a stress dose.
Okay. Okay.
Stress dose of steroid. I think I should write it more clearly. Just a minute. Stress dose of steroid. Okay. Now is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So now about breastfeeding for the women who are chronically taking corticosteroids, no effect on a baby of maternal corticosteroid use, but still it is sensible to reduce exposure. So how we will reduce exposure? Use prednisolone in place of prednisone. It is more it is less excreted in the baby. Avoid breastfeeding for 4 hours after the last dose. And if the woman is taking IV methyl prednisolone, then avoid breastfeeding for 2 to 4 hours after a 1 gram infusion of methyl prednisolone. No studies on betamethasone, hydrocortisone, or dexamethasone, so better to avoid. There are only studies available on the prednisolone. Okay. Otherwise, it does not have
Yes,
any
ma'am.
effect. So, what about the interaction with other drugs? Interaction of steroid with other drugs. Do not give mifepristone with long-term usage of steroids. We do not know the reason. And about estrogen derivatives, estrogen derivatives like COCP, it's an example. COCP may increase serum concentration of steroids. So, if we have COCP initiated, or we have increased the dose of COCP, then monitor for increased effect, because it accentuates the effects of the steroid. So it could go into toxic levels. But if we have stopped COCP, then monitor for decreased effect, because previously it could be because of the COCP that it is giving the desired effect. Now we have stopped the COCP, the effect of the steroid will decrease with it. So there are two drugs which interact with the steroid. One is mifepristone and the other are the estrogen derivatives, COCP.
Ma'am, what is the abbreviation of COCP?
Combined oral contraceptive pill.
Oh,
It's to show the example of estrogen derivative. Otherwise, anything which contains estrogen. Okay. So about neonatal exposure, we have discussed previously if about the fetal exposure during antenatal period. Now we are discussing neonatal exposure for the mothers who were taking steroids chronically. There could be low birth weight, decreased head circumference, neonatal sepsis, and long-term neurological problems. So routine, but again, the evidence is very weak for these problems. So we will only do the routine neonatal pediatric evaluation. No need to do some extra. Okay, in routine we check the birth weight. In routine head circumference is checked. In routine other reflexes are checked. So only you need to do the routine evaluation, because the evidence is not sufficient that all of these problems are caused by prolonged exposure of the steroids. Okay, is it clear? So this is the table given in the talk article. It is very important and very, very precise, this algorithm. Pregnant women using corticosteroids on chronic basis. What we will do in antenatal, peripartum and postpartum period. In antenatal, we will provide detailed screening for fetal anomalies, as we already do. Monitor fetal growth more frequently, as we have discussed. It could cause fetal growth retardation, and offer gestational diabetes screening, we have discussed. So these 3 points for antenatal monitoring. What we do in peripartum: give additional prophylactic treatment with fluorinated steroids if premature delivery is anticipated. Do not give mifepristone. Assess the need for hydrocortisone stress dose. As we have discussed in adrenocortical insufficiency, we need to give stress dose, and in other condition, we need to assess whether stress dose should be given or not. In postpartum period, provide neonatal or pediatric evaluation, which would be a routine. Okay, this is a summarization of all of the points. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this was all about the steroid. Let me ask you a few questions from here. Just a minute. I will stop screen sharing, then I will ask some questions. Because this is an important topic and I think questions come from it. So now who is going to tell me, is it safe to breastfeed for women who are taking steroids for some other medical disorder?
Yes,
Yes.
safe, but breastfeeding should be given 4 hours after.
Oral
Or
dose.
if
Suppose.
oral dose,
And
and if IV given,
she is giving,
And prednisolone is better.
preferable.
Less.
Okay, okay. So what drugs interact with the steroid?
mifepristone and
Mifepristone and
estrogen
estrogen.
derivatives.
Estrogen derivatives.
Increases the level.
Yes, increases the level. Excellent. Okay. And so if dexamethasone or betamethasone are not available for fetal line maturity, what will you give?
Hydrocortisone.
Hydrocortisone.
Yes, hydrocortisone. Yes, excellent. Hydrocortisone. Okay. Okay. All done.
Ma'am, how much hydrocortisone should be given?
There are no recommendations on that because this is the non-standard treatment. Okay, usually I think in our setup even it has never happened that dexamethasone or betamethasone is not available. So in UK, sometimes it happens that there could be a allergic reaction or patient is allergic to some compound. That's where hydrocortisone will be given. Then again, it will be a consultative decision. So the
And
thing which is
another
not given in
question,
guideline and total. Yes, yes.
another confusion. If dexamethasone is available for one dose, and if it is second dose is not available, in that case, can you give betnisol, vice versa?
No, no, no. I have never read anything like this. Why is it so if second dose is not available?
In any way, if it is not available, sometimes we see that it's
You
not
have to,
available.
you
in
have
stock.
to, because in both the, no, 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 no. The same
Okay.
compound should be given. Okay.
Okay.
We have discussed this problem. Then I remembered once I have the same scenario in my hospital. Then first we give betamethasone, and at the time the second dose it was short, and then we were wondering what should we do.
Yes.
Okay. So,